Hello everyone, it's wonderful to be with you again. Today's gospel is from the 14th chapter of Luke. Now large crowds were traveling with him, and he turned and said to them, "Whoever comes to me and does not hate father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, and even life itself, cannot be my disciple. Whoever does not carry the cross and follow me cannot be my disciple. And for which of you intended to build a tower does not first sit down and estimate the cost to see whether he has enough to complete it? Otherwise, when he has laid the foundation and is not able to finish, all who see it will begin to ridicule him, saying, 'This fellow began to build and was not able to finish.' Or what king, going out to wage war against another king, will not sit down first and consider whether he is able with 10,000 to oppose the one who is coming against him with 20,000? If he cannot, then while the other is still far away, he sends a delegation and asks for the terms of peace. So, therefore, none of you can become my disciples if you do not give up all your possessions." The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, O Christ. Wow, those are some pretty harsh words. So let me ask you, who wants to be a disciple of Jesus? Don't be shy, just raise your hand. It's guaranteed to be interesting, especially considering what we just heard in our gospel reading. First, hate your father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, and even life itself. Second, carry the cross and follow him. And lastly, give up all your possessions. It's that simple. And it's that difficult. Jesus' words don't just sound black and white, they are black and white. It's all or nothing. We are either in or we are out. His words are likely not to be the first thing that comes to mind when we consider what the Christian life looks like. We don't often talk about the demands and sacrifices required by the Christian path. Too often, we turn Christianity into a set of beliefs far removed from a way of being and acting. I'm not talking about salvation, the future, heaven or hell. This is about who we are and how we live right now, here, today. So, how do we deal with today's gospel, this so-called good news? I suspect the first thing we would want to do is soften the text. Explain it away, reinterpret it to fit our lives. That action, however, is just another symptom of the consumerism that infects much of our society, church, and faith. Too often, church and faith are treated like a big buffet. Think Golden Corral, if you will. We take as much as we want of what we like, but leave behind what we don't like, what's too hard to swallow, what we disagree with, or what does not fit our personal opinions and beliefs. That's not how the gospel portrays Jesus or the life of discipleship. If we think it is, then we have deceived ourselves and each other. Sometimes we need to have demands and expectations placed upon us. Good parents know this. You need to eat your vegetables because they're good for you. You need to do this or that because it's the right thing to do. I expect you to study hard, do your homework, make good friends, do your chores. Parents make demands out of love so that their children might grow and thrive. That's what Jesus is doing in today's gospel. His demands and expectations call us to be different, to be fully alive, to be like him. It is the same choice Moses set before the Israelites, the choice between life and prosperity and death and adversity. It is a choice we make multiple times a day, every day of our lives. That's the choice with which Jesus confronts the crowd in today's gospel. The crowds have been gathering around Jesus since early in his ministry. Jesus was the new buffet to them. He offered healing, exorcism, teaching, hope, life, good news, bread, freedom, and a new vision. He has what they wanted, and they gathered around him, surrounded him, pressed in on him. It was as if they just couldn't get enough of him. The crowd grew in numbers, increasing by the thousands. But then something changed. They weren't just gathering when Jesus was around. The crowd had started traveling with him. But there's more to discipleship than just simply traveling with Jesus. Discipleship is more than grazing at the buffet of divine life. That is not a life that can be bought, but it will cost us everything we have. Hate your family and your own life. Carry the cross. Give up your possessions. Those three things are what shaped Jesus' own life and ministry. Jesus is not asking you to do something he himself did not do. To the contrary, he makes it possible for us to do what he did. So how did Jesus hate his parents? Remember the 12-year-old Jesus at the temple in Jerusalem? Mary and Joseph were frantically looking for him, thinking he was lost. When they found him, Mary asked, "Child, why have you treated us like this? Look, your father and I have been searching for you with great anxiety." He said to them, "Why were you searching for me? Did you not know that I must be in my Father's house?" In that moment, we might say that Jesus hated Mary and Joseph. He set his relationship with them below his relationship with God the Father. This is not the emotional, feeling-based way we tend to think about hate today. For Jesus, hating another is about reordering relationships and loyalty. Jesus is not rejecting Mary and Joseph or their love or presence in his life. This is about establishing new priorities. For a true disciple, no one and no relationship can take precedence over the relationship with Jesus. Not father and mother, wife and children, brother and sister, or life itself. In that sense, Jesus hated his own life. He carried his cross and gave precedence to his Father's will and our salvation. Again, it is about priorities. He set aside his will in favor of love for and obedience to God. What about Jesus' possessions? The birds and animals of this world have more possessions than Jesus. Foxes have their holes and birds of the air have their nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head, is what Jesus said in Luke 9. Again, Jesus is giving primacy to his relationship with God over his relationship with things. It's a question of priorities. Jesus is asking us to do what he did and be who he is. That's what a disciple is. A disciple is a learner, one who learns to live, act, speak, and think like the teacher. The disciple integrates the teacher's life and teachings into his or her own life. No one, no cost, no thing is to take precedence over or interfere with our relationship with Jesus. Nothing is more important because it is our relationship with Jesus that shapes, defines, determines, and characterizes all other relationships, all other aspects of our lives, who we are, what we say, and what we do. Discipleship, learning to be and live like Jesus, is ultimately what unifies our life. So often we live fragmented and categorized lives. We have a work life, school life, family and home life, internet life, recreational life, political and civic life, and of course, a church life. This fragmentation allows us to place each of those different aspects of our life as the priority depending on where we are, who we are with, and what we are doing. Fragmentation is just one more symptom of the consumer-oriented, buffet-driven world. Jesus' demands and expectations change all that. There can be only one priority, and it is to inform and shape the whole of who we are and what we do. Think about some of the implications. It means we are to be the same person with the same values, principles, and beliefs, regardless of where we are, who we're with, or what we're doing. It means politics is no longer governed by party agenda or loyalty, but by commitment to Jesus and the gospel agenda. It means personal opinions and preferences give way to love of neighbor and of one's enemies. It means business is not a capitalist venture to gain money, power, or leverage over another, but a resource to care for, support, and satisfy human needs. It means the environment is not a commodity to be used, polluted, and stripped, but a sacred gift entrusted to our care, a gift that manifests and reveals God's own beauty and holiness. It means everything we say, do, and are arises from and reveals our life in and love of Christ. If we choose to live like that, there is a cost to be paid and sacrifices to be made. We shouldn't be surprised by that because we know that's true with other parts of our life. We sacrifice years of study for an education. We sacrifice long hours and weekends for a successful career. We sacrifice time, money, and other opportunities to make sure our kids get to camp, activities, and sports games. We sacrifice dessert for a healthy diet and sleeping in for time to work out. We know how to make sacrifices and pay the cost. We do it because these things are important to us. They are priorities to us. There's nothing wrong with any of those things. They are good and important aspects of our lives, but we cannot avoid the obvious question. What cost are you willing to pay, and what sacrifices will we willingly make to be disciples of Jesus? I don't know what your answer is. It will be different for each of us. One thing I am sure of is that each answer will involve rethinking, reordering our priorities. If you want to know what our priorities are, what drives and what directs our lives, we need only look at the choices we make, what we do and say, and the ways in which we spend our time, money, and energy. What do those choices say about us? Do they reflect discipleship? Learning to be like Jesus? There's a reason biblical scholars call today's gospel one of Jesus's hard sayings. It offers challenging words and raises difficult questions. They are, however, words and questions that offer life. Isn't that why we show up in church on Sunday? We want life. We want to live fully alive. We want to be real and authentic. We want to be like Jesus. Don't let the text scare you away. We can do this. Let's not leave here the same people we were when we came in. What is one thing, just one thing, that you could do or give up that will change your priorities, reorder your relationships, that gives precedence to Jesus? Choose that, and you will leave here today a different person. Choose life. Choose life. And all God's blessed people say, Amen. I leave you with this blessing. May good and gracious God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit bless you, keep you, protect you, and show you all the glory and joy of a full life lived fully until we meet again. Have a wonderful week.